Well, essentially geography is a study of how people interact with their environment. We study patterns and we look at how certain features occur on the planet, why are they there, what natural and human processes have caused them to be there. For example, why are there mountains in the Himalayas? Or why are there 1.4 billion people in China? Why are some countries rich and others poor? So we study populations, development, we look at how that population is putting stress onto our resources and what kind of environmental damages that might cause. We do in-depth studies on urban environments and cities and some of the issues associated with cities. We look at oceans and how we're exploiting our ocean resources. We look at rivers and fresh water and how, again, growing populations puts a lot of stress on that and how we can manage these resources. The higher level component is all around globalization and how, through a shrinking world, we're seeing some changes to culture and the environment and the economy, and what are the pros and cons of that?
I really enjoyed the human aspects of geography. We studied populations, and that went really well with economic development, and then learning about disparities between nations and less economically developed countries and more economically developed countries, and we learned why that is, why some countries are doing really well economically and why some countries aren't, and what we can do as citizens of the world to sort of help that. And then that tied in with environmental sustainability and how nations are trying to become more and more conscious of being more sustainable. And that's one of the things I really like about geography, because it's just so interdisciplinary and all the units we learn about connect.
In a way, geography is a bit distinctive because it's somewhere between social sciences and natural sciences. We're quite multidisciplinary. So, for example, if you look at climate change, when we study climate change in geography, we're not only interested in the science behind the causes of it, the greenhouse effect, the enhanced greenhouse effect, but also we look at the impacts on people, on nations, on communities, and we look at how people respond to these challenges. Alternative energies, we look at government policy, we look at things like the recent Paris climate change talks, for example.
I think students who are really interested with global news, so whether you're reading newspapers on a daily basis or just keeping up to date with the BBC News, CNN, whatever it may be, because geography is very founded in contemporary news.
Like many of the Group 3 subjects, I think one of the big takeaways from this course is going to be critical thinking. We often look at things through a range of different perspectives. So if we're considering, say, resource use and the use of, say, oil, we'll look at that from an economic point of view. How can countries benefit from maybe exploiting that resource? We might look at it from an environmental point of view. What are some of the environmental issues associated with continued use of fossil fuels, or what are the alternatives, and how does that impact the economy or impact people or impact the environment as a whole?
You learn a good skill set of looking at things from two sides, because in all your on all the assessment statements you always have to sort of evaluate things and look at it from multiple perspectives, so you learn to look at a situation in different ways. And then I also think the geography field trip to Chiang Rai, you really learn how to set up a really solid IA, how to justify why you do certain methods, and I think the skills that you learn with Excel and just like small skills like that will really help you in university when you have to do these big research papers. I think one of the most challenging aspects of geography is being able to interpret the question that you're being asked properly, and then synthesizing all the content and material you've learned, because geography is such a diverse and you learn so much content. It's just like synthesizing that into one solid answer or argument that can be pretty difficult.